Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. That takes care of just about every time of the day there that you could be listening to this. I'm hoping it brings you much goodness. And I am certain that it will with my guest today, Doug O'Donnell. That's right. You heard it here first. I am talking to my good old buddy, Doug. I met Doug during my Westchester years, my days of yesteryear. And, we were a couple party animals. Couple party manimals. We didn't really, it wasn't really super party. Our parties were kind of like, they were creative parties. They were musical endeavors and bands and arts and crafts. And Doug was one of the funniest of the funnies. He was a real fun ball. On more than one occasion, he tickled my funny bone. You might even say that he gave me a rash. So I'm honored to have him here with me today, gracing the virtual encounter, our virtual casual encounter that we're having. And I have a feeling today that Doug is going to downplay his greatness. And we don't want to do that. We want to uplift and celebrate in his greatness because he is great. And I really hope that this show conveys that. Okay, so here I am tooting his horn. Meep, meep. He is a wealth of musical knowledge and has been involved in so many amazing bands. He was a founding member of Dr. Dog and was in incredible bands, Doublehorse, Overtones. Some of the ones I know we're going to be talking about, the York Street Hustle, and more. And Doug will send me some demos and things that he's done, and it's like this is a classic. This is an instant classic. All right, so now that I've built Doug up, it's good. My guests don't have to hear the intro before I see them, because I don't want to put any pressure on him. I like to keep a low pressure system in these shows for my guests. A nice low pressure system moving in to the show. So with that, I'm going to just stop my beak yapping and away we go.
All my friends till the very end, thank you for the fun and the play. Until next time, I hope you all do fine. Live to see another day. My pals and my peers, throughout all the years, you've done so much you wished me
It's good to see you, my friend. I haven't physically been in the presence of you I actually remember the last time. It was the Swamp is On show, 2015. It was fall of 2015.
Was it that long ago? Wow.
I can't believe that. That's ridiculous.
It is. It seems. Yeah. No, that's right. My son was just about to be born or just born.
Yeah.
Depending on. Yeah. Crazy.
It doesn't feel like that long because we have been in contact, and when you're communicating, it just never feels like it's that far away. The person's not that far away. But we haven't seen you. Yeah.
And even that, there wasn't really a chance to go deep. I mean, we tried to take a few minutes to talk, but Yeah, we used to talk very deeply all the time, and then
yes,
decades have passed, and it just doesn't happen. I miss you. This is great.
I know. I miss you too. Yeah. So I've said this before in the show. It's been really nice to have the opportunity to connect with friends, through this thing that I'm doing here. And it was always really just the kind of main MO is to document these wonderful times that I've had in life with my friends, and share that with others, who were there and maybe weren't there and want to dip into that fun world too, the fun zone.
Yes,
the happy.
I've been enjoying it. It's weird to have that zone packaged and presented to me in the form of a podcast, because it just seems like maybe of limited interest to anyone that wasn't there. I mean, maybe people are interested, but to me, it's the most interesting,
Yes.
because it's my life, I could just imagine how it feels to, update your podcast feed. And it's like, oh, here's this one about my past. Here's a guy to talk about my friends and I.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's
I'm loving it.
Yeah, I do too. I'm really digging it. And things are coming
that
up.
Like button.
Dude.
Smash that subscribe.
Smash it. Smash the subscribe, smash follow. Just crushing hearts.
Giving you high ratings on iTunes.
I need
5 stars.
My analytics are going to soar through the roof. The better I sound right now and saying the right words, my analytics are going to go top tier.
Well, you've got the Doug demographic nailed down tight. He's locked in. You can hang on to that if all else fails.
Well, it's funny because
one guy listening.
I got a message from Zach Miller last week, and he said, "I'm your target audience," and I said, "That's great. If it's just for that, that's perfect. That's great." Yeah. So I was trying to remember as we got on here, and we're talking when we met. Like, what's your memory of when we met each other, or is there a memory?
I don't have a specific first time. I just remember you being around, just kind of seemingly very, very quickly integrated into the little social scene that I was involved with in Westchester. It was just like all of a sudden, here's this guy, and a natural fit. Clearly you were simpatico with the vibe, and it always seemed like everybody knew everybody. There was like a real I was always getting introduced to. It always seemed like everyone else knew everybody else except for me. Like I was always meeting people, but I don't know, maybe because everyone else went to Westchester, from living there and being at school, they were more socializing more. But yes, probably somebody was just like, "Hey, this is Brad," and we met, and you were really hyper and fun, and just like a great energy. Sometimes you used to drive me nuts. Just with the kind of manic energy, but it was beautiful. I mean, I was very taken with you right away, I think. And also a little jealous. I definitely had a thing of oh, who's this hot shot? Is there the same amount of room for me now that this guy's here? Maybe there might have been a little of that.
Oh my gosh.
But no, I mean, it was beautiful right off the bat. I felt like we kind of got close.
Yeah. No, I felt that way too. I did. I never I never felt that you were threatening, but it was yeah, I was just I know that I drove people nuts, and even per talking to Scott on the episode a couple ago, it was like, I know how I was. I look back, I had a major kind of like sugar imbalance. I think I was I
Like
was
seriously, sugar, you
no, I
think
don't
was
I
the
mean
thing?
I just
Or
think
just like
I think I just ate a
energy?
lot of sugar. I think, yeah, I think I was like really not like physically, like it's something, didn't like have diabetes or anything. It was just like I was really hyper, and man, it was a manic energy. It was uncontrolled. And over the years I've reined that in. But
My first memory of you that's like um sort of like the first one that comes to mind if I really try and go back is late at night. It was like, we used to all hang out all the time. It was like a party scene, or like a very freewheeling
mhm.
deal. And then, eventually like things always settled down. I didn't live there at the house in Westchester, but I often spent the night. I'd
Yeah.
hang out till late and then just crash on the couch and spend most of my weekends there. And my memory is of a night where like everything had settled down. It was probably super late, and I was sleeping on the couch, and you had, I guess, had written your first song. You were talking with Scott about writing. I don't know if it was your first song, but like early in your thing of writing songs, and you were playing it for me, and you kept asking me questions about, I guess, like musical analysis of it. And it was like, I remember the song was like, huh, take me to my heart, take me where I want to go, how, in my heart. And like, you were just like, so what do you call that? Like if a song goes, what is that? And I was just like, I don't know, man. It's late. I'm not sure what you call that. It's a good song.
I don't know. It's catchy. I don't know. Just let me go to sleep. I'm exhausted.
I'm hooked.
Yeah. It's the other thing that I'm realizing too is for a lot of that time um I wasn't smoking weed, or anything like that. Up until I did eventually, but it was like this a bunch of the group was kind of at varying levels of, they were smoking pot, they were taking hallucinogenics and stuff like that. And that was a bit of a different thing because I had never done any hallucinogens, not
right.
much later. So there's this there's a little bit of a I don't know what it would be called, but just, it's like, oh, okay, I haven't seen God's face right now. And meanwhile, everyone else is kind of in this zone. And I'm like just chugging chocolate silk milk.
I mean, I guess I don't like, my memory of it isn't that it was a super hallucinogenic scene or like
Yeah.
sitar music and tapestries or anything. But or that you were particularly out of sync with stuff. I mean, it was,
Yeah.
it was like kind of punk or whatever, so
Yeah.
you fit in totally, really. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm making it sound like you were some kind of intrusion, which is not the case at all.
Real beast of burden. No, I know what you mean. And I'm just clarify, it wasn't as crazy like strawberry alarm clock kind of deal. It was just like this zone that was, people were experiencing higher levels of consciousness, and I was like just kind of like hummingbird nectar.
Yeah.
Just needed like that. So but yeah, it still felt like it all fit in and stuff. And I learned a lot, I think, being around the group, being around you. And there was a lot of like kind of more settled energy that was there. And so, I just like feel like I was learning a lot from you and from the rest of the guys.
Well, I felt that way too. Not that you were learning, but that I was, I definitely felt there was like a magical, it sounds corny to say, but there was like a magical vibe, just an artistic thing, I guess, that everybody was really creative and thoughtful and funny. And like, I definitely felt like I was sort of soaking it all in and kind of learning how to
Yeah.
be.
Yeah. And it felt like things were, everything was contributing in that process, like all these pieces and players that were kind of there, just like thrown in all, there was just so much happening. It felt so alive and, vibrant,
Yeah. And I wondered, does everybody feel that way about their little scene when they were in their 20s? Like people probably do, it probably just,
Yeah.
everybody thinks, that it was like,
Yeah.
it probably just seems special because it was special,
Yeah.
but,
Yeah.
it's not like it was Paris in the 1920s or whatever, like the Algonquin Round Table, like just this complete genius scene. But
Yeah. The Bronze Age.
I don't know. It was great. I felt like it was
Yeah.
in my life.
Yeah. And so just to come back then, you were so you didn't go to Westchester College. You were how much older than some of the other folks, right? Like you and Rory O'Connell.
Yeah. It was like a 3-year
Rory
span.
O'Connell.
Rory
What
and
is O'Connell? He's like Irishman. O'Donnell and O'Connell. The Donald Connells.
Yeah,
Connell
like
Donald.
Rory and Ben and I were.
That would actually be a great name, Connell and Donald, like kind of Loggins Messina deal.
It's too much Arnold. It's like you need to Loggins and Messina are two radically different names. I think that's what you need.
Yes.
Yeah, Rory and I were one age, and then the next grade down was Andrew. Were Andrew, Scott, and Toby all in the same grade? I don't know. They were like a year or two younger, so we were all roughly the same age.
Yeah.
But it's that thing of when you're younger, like a year or two seems like a bigger difference than it does.
Yeah.
Like I've heard Scott and Toby say that I seemed like an older dude, which I guess I mean, I guess I was, but like, we're all the same. Looking back,
it is funny though, how just like at that age, the time difference of just a year or two with people like could make it this whole world of, a whole lifetime of, space between you. But so you went, where were you? I'm gonna just keep going back in time until we get to your birth story. But you were born, you were from West Grove, Avon Grove.
Yeah, sort of. I grew up first in Cochranville, which was just like down the road from West Grove, and went to a different school.
Yeah.
And then moved to Avon Grove, which is where Scott and Toby and all those guys went in for high school.
Okay.
But I really didn't. I was friends with Andrew, but I didn't really get tight with those guys till after high school. I sort of knew them, but it wasn't like we were all high school buddies.
So you weren't playing music with them, like in things with them. It was more you're doing,
maybe a little bit. I guess maybe like toward the end of high school. I don't remember the exact chronology, but I feel like it was like at the end of high school or the beginning of college that I really got close with Scott and Toby and started playing music together and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the time then, what were you, what was kind of your musical love? What was there anything, I mean, it could have been a vast array, but was there something that was, you were just really kind of like dig in and, what you wanted to play?
As a little kid, my first big thing was the Beatles, like everybody, the Beatles and the Monkees. And then
I loved watching the Monkees. The Monkees, watching the TV show.
Me too.
It's great.
I've been going back to it lately. I used to watch it obsessively as a kid. I think they had like a resurgence in 1987.
Yes.
I think it was like the 20-year anniversary or whatever it was. And they started airing them all again. And the Monkees got back together and put out a new album. And like, that was, I have this memory of being on the schoolyard, whatever, being at school and somebody being like, Doug, do you know about this Monkees thing? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And it's like, it's on TV. It's like the Beatles. It's like this rock band on TV. They're crazy. You got to watch the Monkees. And like, I remember it so clearly, just like my blood pressure shooting up, like, what's this Monkees thing? I got to get on this, and like, I think it was a half day. For some reason, I like came home early and just like ran to the TV and turned it on, and it was the Monkees. It was on like right then.
Yeah.
And I taped it, like sight unseen, like, well, this is my new thing. And then just, was big on the Monkees. But yeah, Beatles and the Monkees. And then I grew up around bluegrass because my dad and his friends were just like informal, it wasn't like a pro band or anything, but they would get together and play. They're really good.
Yeah.
And it was, so there was that. I was always interested in that and playing bluegrass. And then I got really into Frank Zappa as I got, like adolescence. I got into really weird, like Zappa, The Residents, Beefheart, The Grateful Dead.
How old were you when that happened? You were in your teens?
I guess
that was pre-college.
Yeah, like the Zappa thing was like 8th grade. I remember getting really deep into that, and then
and Beefheart,
the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That was I was heavily about that for a while. That kind of glam, 70s thing. So all different stuff, but I was probably heavy into Zappa and R. Stevie Moore. Like that would have been like probably my big stuff around the time that I'm getting closer with Scott and Toby.
That's amazing, man. That's actually earlier than I thought you were kind of getting into that stuff.
Yeah, I was lucky to be exposed to it.
Yeah.
I should go back and say my friend Matt from like 2nd or 3rd grade, he and I just instantly became really close, bonded over the Beatles and the Monkees. And he's like super good at guitar and songwriting. So he and I were like joined at the hip throughout all my life, really, so we were discovering stuff together. And we, in 92, I think, or 93, which would have been our like sophomore or junior year of high school, heard about R. Stevie Moore. We just read this description, like there's this crazy guy in New Jersey who has 1 million tapes. He plays all the instruments himself and like, records. He's got like hundreds of albums. And so we sent away for the catalog of all his tapes. And it was just like, it was amazing. It was like obviously written by him, and the descriptions were really funny. All the song titles and album titles were interesting and funny, but I just assumed that it was all like avant experimental noise. Like I that's what I was, and I wanted that. Like I was ready for that. Like I remember I ordered a bunch of tapes, and I ordered the ones that sounded like the most unlistenable, like the his descriptions, the ones that were like, this is the heaviest stuff,
Yeah.
And then what a surprise to realize that like, no, it's like magical pop music. Like it's not some difficult, I mean, it was whatever, it was crazy. But anyone who knows R. Stevie Moore, he's brilliant. It just felt like this magical secret to have found this guy. And so we used to order, it was cassettes, and it was buy 2 get 1 free. So we would buy 4 and you'd get 6, and we would just order 6 tapes, and as soon as they arrived, order another 6. And it was both of us doing it. So like quickly we were just accumulating these piles and piles and piles of our Stevie Moore tapes. And he would dub it himself and send it to you with a little note, and it was all handwritten. And so that was huge. He's still like my major musical, just totally formative.
And you have a relationship with him now, like you correspond.
Yeah, I've gotten friendly with him, and I love him very much. He like I said, it was originally, we were just customers, just these guys buying tapes. It was funny. He put it together that we probably knew each other, just because like all of a sudden these 2 guys in Pennsylvania were ordering all these tapes that were like different, like not the ones. And so he sent this note that was like, do you know Matt Fuga? And he sent Matt one that was like, do you know Doug O'Donnell? And we were like, oh my God, he's keeping track of us. So it just went on like that for a long time. And then it was much later that I actually met him in person with Scott and Toby.
Yeah.
We went down to see him play, and I was just like, hey, I'm that guy, and like, I think I completely overwhelmed him. Like I think I got really like too intimate too fast. Just like, I love you, and he was just like, ah.
Well, I'll share. I remember going to Maxwell's in North Jersey with you to see our Stevie. I don't know if that was before or after you went with Scott and Tobe.
It was after.
It was after. Okay. Yeah. So after the fact. Yeah. And that was amazing. I mean, that was a blast getting to see him. It was, Maxwell's is a pretty small club. And it was like, I remember that one, especially because the opening act was totally not a good fit. It was this guy, I forget his name. He actually, when I ended up watching that movie, Walk the Line, the Johnny Cash biopic, the guy who plays Elvis Presley in that movie was this guy who opened for our Stevie. And he's just totally like seemingly like an LA major label singer-songwriter. And I'm like, this is not a good fit here for our Stevie. Our Stevie comes on and does amazing, his thing.
I don't remember that at all. I remember the show. I don't remember the opener, but
yeah. I remember because it was like a couple years after. It's like, why does that guy look so familiar? I watched the movie. I was like, it's the dude that Doug and I saw opening for our Stevie.
Yeah. But even probably, I don't know how plugged in you were to his, actual like recorded music at that time, but
not as much as you guys. I was hearing it because it was always on, it was on a lot.
Because I probably would have said like, well, because he's interesting live, he's very fun to watch and does like a crazy show, but it's definitely like, you need to hear the tapes, to really know, not that it's not good live, but it's just different. It's not the thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember he came out in like a crazy like pajama bathrobe sort of outfit or something, and he was playing a tenor guitar or a baritone. I don't know what it was, but like a weird twangy like cross between a bass and a guitar. And I think it was just him and a drummer. I think it was him and Erwin Chusid playing drums, just like it was a cool, wacky show, but like not something where you would see it and just be like converted to the fact that this guy's like a immortal genius.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Weird.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You were asking what music I liked, and I started ranting.
Well, but that's
great.
early, man. That is early TV hearing about our Stevie. And I also just want to say, this is like, because this has been another ongoing theme through this podcast, is pre-internet. It's like our lives pre-internet, and how much more work it was to find things, to hear new music, to get. I mean, you had to really have your your ear to the ground, and like searching and finding out and getting this stuff figured out, putting these pieces together. So kudos to you for doing that.
Yeah. It felt like you just thank your lucky stars that you found it. Like when something like that is so good, and it was hard to find, it was obscure.
Yeah.
It was just like, I'm just so glad that it fell through the cracks to me, because you're right. It was like, it was like a weird chain of events. Like I was into R. Crumb, the cartoonist.
Yes.
And then I had, I think I had a catalog of R. Crumb stuff. And then that talked about the Church of the Subgenius, which was like a weird thing.
I totally remember you bringing that in. And it was always like, what is that? That's so cool. And Doug's bringing this kind of mystical thing in, and I didn't understand.
I was very into Subgenius, and then Subgenius had a book of like weird stuff you can order through the mail, and that mentioned our Stevie Moore. And so it was just like all these sort of underground, links, that brought it there, but in a really analog pre-internet way.
Yeah, which is great. It's just great being able to have that access to that. Yeah. And so, all right, so you start to what was your first band? Was that
Well,
Doublehorse Overtones? Was or
yep.
yeah.
Yeah, it was the same guys. It was me and Matt, like I said, back in like second grade or something when we first met, made up a band right away. Like, and that was the same band. That was the origins of Doublehorse and the Overtones. It was originally called the Monkey Twos, like
No way.
a
What?
sequel to the Monkeys. Yeah, well, we were just, we were little kids. We didn't even play, but we're a band. We're called the Monkey Twos. And then
I love it. A sequel to a
yeah, it's a real like kid logic. Like, oh, we'll be like the Monkeys. Let's call it the Monkey Twos. Like, yeah, it was great. But yeah, him and I just started playing music together, and Tom,
yeah,
who was his neighbor, took up the bass, and later we got hooked up with Danny, our drummer. So yeah, like the core of that band started pretty early, and that was like my main thing. We were playing music all through high school, and all through everything.
Do you remember any of some of those shows at the time? Any that stand out?
No, we didn't really play shows. I mean, we did, it was just like a garage band. Like we played at like a school talent show, and we put on our own show at a VA,
VFW,
not a VA, a VFW, yeah, yeah, just little oddball things. A couple times I would throw parties, and we would play at my parents' house, like with my parents' home. Not like not like heavy parties or anything, but
not
just
like
have people over and play.
Wasn't like a weird science kind of party.
Well, it sort of was. It was a little edgier than my parents were probably expecting, but yeah, we weren't like on any kind of scene playing shows. It was very ingrown. We were just playing in the basement.
But then later you started playing. I mean, obviously we played a bunch of shows together, and
yeah. Eventually we got out and played more.
Yeah. Let's see. Do you want to listen to a little of the band? I know this came later. Obviously, you had a lot of tracks.
Yeah, sure.
Stuff recorded, but it'd just be nice to play a little something here of
Put it on.
Doublehorse Dreamin' in Stereo. Right? Here we go.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the one. Let's just
one of my favorites of ours.
That's nice. That's a nice.
It is nice. That's all Matt. That was like his songwriting was like the thing about that band.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things. It was a great band, but
yeah.
The thing I think about. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, no. You go. You go first.
When I go back and listen to our old stuff now, what cracks me up is the ambition of it. Like I can really hear exactly everything that we were trying to do. And it was just so, I mean, that was like one side of what we said. That was like sort of a psychedelic, pop song. But we were like trying to be funky. We were trying to be like really hard charging, heavy rock. And then we would be like country. Matt and I were both, like I said, Zappa, our Stevie Moore.
Yeah.
Not so much Ween. Like we didn't really listen to Ween, but I think we wanted the band to kind of be what Ween was. Like that wasn't our conscious goal, but everything was supposed to be funny and also, you know, really heavy, and like, you know, then here's the rap, and like here's like the 20-minute guitar solo, and now we're gonna dance, you know, like it was everything was. And yeah, when I listen to it, it's just like, oh yeah, that was supposed to sound like Bowie, and oh, that's supposed to sound like that's the Dire Straits part, you know, and here's the Ramones thing, and like it's like at the time we would think like, well, we'll just conquer the world, like there's nobody can withstand this onslaught of talent, you know? And like listening back, it's just like, you know, like, oh, we're really, you know, we're trying hard and we're really going for it,
yeah,
which is appealing, but it's also like, wow, maybe we could have reined it in. Like focus on one thing a little more deeply.
Yeah, well, it's hard to do at that age.
Yeah, it was a weird band. It was a really they are all really like superlative musicians. I feel like more than most like dudes in bands at the time, like were really like you know, great players. And Matt, I continue to think, is like a songwriter of really great merit. He just wrote incredible stuff. When we discovered our Stevie Moore, he right away got 4 tracks. We both did. And he just used to make these tapes, you know, obviously like derivative of our Stevie Moore, but completely his own too, you know. And they were like our Stevie, they were prank calls and found sound and like sound collage and, you know, wacky stuff. But then just pop songwriting that was completely unique. And, you know, like he developed really rapidly. I would just see him every weekend because at that point we were in different schools. But we would spend all our weekends together, and he would just blow my mind week after week. Like, here's the new tapes I've been making. And,
wow,
you know, it's just that maybe everybody has a friend like that. Like when you're a kid or when you're younger, you're just like, oh, my friend's like the smartest guy in the world. Or like, there's nobody funnier than this one guy I know, you know? And of course in life, you realize that there's smart, funny, good people everywhere, you know, but like at the time you just think like, well, it's just, no one will ever know how brilliant this is, you know?
Yeah. It's funny too, because I was just like hearing that. You know, we played a lot of shows together. I saw you guys play a lot, and it's kind of like all these years later, I can appreciate it more on a level that I didn't then. Just because my tastes, you know, I had a pretty limited, like narrow scope of what I was listening to, and now I'm like, oh yeah, this is really good. Like I can appreciate it now. Just took a little delayed.
Yeah. I mean, I feel that way about lots of stuff from back then. Obviously, you see it different now.
And so when you were coming in, you know, like you said, we would just always be like having this during college era and Westchester and kind of on the outskirts of Westchester, just having this crew, this group. And there was obviously a lot of music constantly happening. There were shows all the time in these VFWs and, you know, all over the place in Delaware, rural PA. We hadn't really hit Philly yet, you know. Philly was more a few years later. But then at that point, when did you start with the Dr. Dog stuff? Like, how did that come about when you guys were?
I don't remember the exact chronology.
I want the exact day and time.
I got closer and closer with Scott and Toby, just like socially, and we would play music together. And then at one point, Tom from Doublehorse went off to grad school, I think, or either college or whatever he was doing. He was like away for a while, and Toby came in and played bass with Doublehorse.
Oh, okay.
Or he named it actually, but you know, it was the Overtones, or we had a million dumb names, but at Toby joined and it became Doublehorse. So he was playing bass with Doublehorse for a while, and meanwhile, they had Raccoon, and then they were sort of starting up Dr. Dog as like a side thing, and I was involved in that. And then we had a bunch of other like side bands too. There was a whole bunch of different little projects. So at the time, Dr. Dog was just like one more thing. I mean, obviously it was like sort of key for those guys, you know. But
what were some of the other little side bars?
there was we had a band called Beard with Jamie Wilson and Roger Hesketh they were from the band Flux Capacitor, and later from a band called Motor. They were like Newark, Delaware dudes. And so that band was centered around them, Jamie and Roger's like songwriting, and they were like the main singers of it. And Scott and Toby and I were sort of the backup.
I remember Beard. I forgot about that. Yes.
It was really janky and strange, which was funny because Jamie and Roger probably wished we would have like taken it a little more seriously and just been like a real band. But we were, you know, doing that whole Dr. Dog thing of just being like playing like acoustic guitars and Casio keyboards or whatever, like a drum set made out of a, you know, whatever, like everything sort of jury rigged together. But that was a fun, I mean, that band we hardly played any shows or recorded or anything. We just practiced.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like it almost didn't matter. It was just kind of another thing. So that was going on. And then it was really just Dr. Dog, but we used to call it the Beach Balls. We used to do like a Beach Boys cover band.
The heroes and villains that was when Smile was really you were bringing, now I've learned, you know, I know for certain you were bringing Beach Boys in heavy handed.
Yeah. That was the heavy-handed is the right expression.
And while you were softpawing.
I was softpawing, heavy-handing the Beach Boys. When in the kind of like heyday of what you're always talking about with like the Westchester scene.
Yeah.
I was obsessive about the Beach Boys to the point where it just seems stupid now. Like not stupid, but
no, it doesn't. Don't you dare talk to yourself like that, your old self.
Yeah.
Doug, the Beach Boys.
I was like in place of a person, like, what's his personality? Oh, he just talks about the Beach Boys all the time. He's like,
I do remember that. I do remember you doing that a lot. But I mean, it was also,
well, I mean, I love them and they're great. And that it was right at that time that the Smile sessions actually did leak, you know, like all that Smile music came out in bits and pieces, but it was right around then that there was like somebody got into the vaults and like unlocked a bunch of that stuff. I remember going to the record store and they had like bootleg CDRs that you could buy. And I saw
for like $30.
Yeah, they were super expensive. It probably cost like $1 to burn.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But I remember really clearly seeing that and just like, oh my God, it's 2 CDs of the Smile sessions. I can't believe it. And I bought it and brought it right back to the Pirate House. And I remember playing it for just like a bunch of people that, didn't care about the Beach Boys and would like sort of look at you funny, like, we're about to listen to the Beach Boys, like, and I was like, no, you don't understand. It's this crazy Beach Boys thing where Brian Wilson went insane and made this insane album, and it's never been heard. I'm the first guy. I just got hot off the presses. I just paid $40 for this CD. Like, let's all sit down and listen, and like Smile starts out really creepy. It's got that like bicycle rider that, there's the creepy, bicycle rider circus music, and it was whatever. that was big. And then I was really into like the old surf Beach Boys too. Like it wasn't just the crazy stuff. I liked it all.
Yeah,
I felt very strongly about it.
Well, it's funny. I think you and I each had, and so again, I was on a delay here because just like a few years later, I had my Beach Boys like mega blast, fully deep succubus of Brian in my face and body, and everything was just being like totally like pouring
Gross.
out Beach Boys VHS tapes and whatever DVDs I could get of anything, any documentary, any like bootleg. And but that my time for the Beach Boys was like I was going in Weezer. I was in Weezer zone.
Mm-hmm.
Which at the time I was like I was trying to make the comparison of Pinkerton as being like a Pet Sounds, and I'm like, it's good. I mean, it's a great album. It's not
Well,
a Pet. It's not
I hear
Pet
that.
Sounds.
I mean, I'm not a Weezer. I don't go super deep with Weezer, but like,
yeah,
I hear the connection for sure. I mean, they both have that like sugar, you know what I mean? That just hooks and pop,
Yeah, but it's not like, it's not what the Beach Boys were doing. Pet Sounds, Smile, that was like, this was a whole world of. It was amazing. It was amazing. And so anyway, you bring this into the group, and it's like, here it is. You're the man.
Yeah, I'm the Beach Boys man.
You're a beach man. You're a beach man. Men. I should have been called the Beach Men instead of Beach Balls. Beach Men.
Yeah, we probably talked about that. I don't know where Beach Balls came from, but
they're all good.
Yeah, we used to work on trying to learn that stuff and sing it and play it.
And how did you learn to do harmonies the way you did? Because it was, again, talking to Scott, it was like I had to clarify. You were teaching harmonies. You were the one that got.
No, well, I mean, I wouldn't say I taught them because I didn't know either. Like, I think I was just excited about it and tried to get us all to do it. But those guys knew how to sing harmony. I mean,
yeah,
it wasn't like I sat down and said, "Here's how you sing harmony," because I didn't know. And it's
how
funny
did you?
too.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Well, no, I was just like, it's that thing of a little knowledge is a dangerous thing. Like, I think I thought I knew more than I did, and like thinking back on some of the ways we arranged that stuff or the way we handled it, I think I would just be like, "Oh yeah, here's what it is," like, we'll do this, and maybe it would work, but if I'd had a little more humility about it and really done the thing of like sitting down and listening and figuring out the way it's really supposed to go, you know what I mean? Like, we could have done even better.
Yeah.
But at the time I was like, oh, I know how music works. There's put one on top and one underneath or whatever, like that sort of basic way of thinking about it. So even with that, it was like, it wasn't like I was some harmony teacher. We were just trying to make it happen.
Yeah. You were working with what you had. So then obviously this brings a lot into the Swamp era, where it was heavy Beach Boys laden.
Yeah, that was at the peak of that.
Yeah, that was the peak.
It was, again, it's like that whole time seems like it lasted forever, but it was really just a couple of years,
Yeah.
But the Swamp was really a great thing. That was, I guess Dr. Dog at that point was already kind of existing. Like, there were songs and shows, and like, it wasn't that super early Dr. Dog that Scott was talking about where it's like in a bathroom and you're playing the shower curtain or whatever. Like, it was a bit more of a regular band, but not really.
Yeah.
Or, it was a deeply weird band. But yeah, we, the idea of that started in the basement of the Pirate House. We all sat down, Scott and Toby and I all sat down with 4 tracks and guitars and said, let's each write a song right now, like right in front of each other. We're all just going to sit here and write a song and record it all, together. And the basement was like partially flooded. Like, that basement used to take in water, and like it was damp and clammy, and there were like wires and weird lights all over the place. And that's where we were like, oh, it's like a psychedelic swamp down here. That's where that phrase came from. But yeah, the 3 of us all wrote these little songs. I wrote Golden Hind, and Scott wrote Fire on My Back, and Toby wrote Dead Record Player, I think, or I don't know, one of them. And just from those three that were all written like right on the spot, we started riffing about, I don't know, the whole story and the whole mythology of it started to grow from that. And it just turned into this wacky concept that nobody gets. Like you would have to have one of us sit down and like explain it for an hour and it still wouldn't make any sense, but it was like logically consistent to us, in some weird way.
Yeah.
And it just turned into this big like tape project, sort of tape collage thing with a bunch of songs. And Beach Boys was all woven in there for sure.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of what I lived and breathed at the time.
Yeah. Living and breathing Beach Boys.
Yes.
It's
again, I remember it with a certain amount of embarrassment. Like I just picture someone else just being like, "Oh, well, this douche just shut up about the Beach Boys for 5 seconds."
Yeah, but now, now look at it, man. I mean, you see how out in the open that is with Beach Boys. It's almost like the closet Beach Boys fans that were tucked away, and now it's out there. It's like obvious. It's just so well known. Yeah, Smile is the crazy like wild album, and so many people are trying to like base things off of that, and just the kind of crazy Brian Wilson era of what he was doing. It's just this like really kind of fun thing that people are aware of, and I think in like up to mainstream now. It's
yeah. Well, it's funny too, because it's like full circle, because obviously like nothing is more mainstream than the Beach Boys. That's why it seemed like weirdly subversive or it seemed like interesting then to be like, no, you don't understand. The Beach Boys are great. They're not just, oldies, just like sort of lame music. Yeah.
Yeah.
But Surf and Safari is great too. That's the thing. Then you come around and realize like it's all great.
Yeah. It's like you have two bands out of that, and each one is, the great oldies. And then this kind of like crazy orchestrated, pop, amazing pop.
And then more from there. Then you have some of the really weird stuff that came after that. And then of course their later years as a traveling,
the stadium, 4th of July, Washington, D.C.
4th of July. Yeah, exactly.
The Mike Love Beach Boys, basically.
The Mike Love Beach Boys.
Yeah. Yeah. That's,
but I feel I'm just going to insert my thought here about the Beach Boys, because it's my podcast and I'm going to tell you this thing I think about the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
That as much as everybody hates Mike Love, that I do feel like he's a necessary ingredient. I think that part of what's great about the Beach Boys is if you listen to their stuff, you imagine sort of a single personality, like the voice of the sort of Beach Boy figure that you start to imagine as you listen to the songs.
Yeah.
Is it's like if it was just Brian, it would be like too melancholy and kind of beautiful and like delicate and like what all the things that he was. And if it was just Mike, it would be like too basic and broy, but as it is, it's like it's this guy working on his car and surfing, but then like there's a single tear rolling down his eye, or like he's got this, these ambitions to be something more, or alternately it's like it's this mad genius, or this like this sort of like crying, emotional, vulnerable man, but then like he's like at the drive-in like getting a burger. But there's something about the whole, you know what I mean? There's a magical thing to the whole vibe.
Yeah.
And then like they're simultaneously like really clean cut. They all have like the Pendletons and the haircuts all the same. And then like 7 years later, they're all like fat with beards and like not wearing all the right clothes, and they just look strange and completely disheveled. And
I
there's
mean,
just a band of such contrasts, and
it's just so sad. But the video of when Brian's just in bed and the Blues Brothers come and yank him out to go surfing, and from that snippet, I mean, it's heartbreaking, but it's it's it's
yeah,
really it's kind of just amazing,
it is.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
you just have to take it all in, and I mean, there's one man's like serious pain at the heart of it. I mean,
yeah,
it's like it's not our thing to laugh at, but
right. And I'm not
it is. But
laughing right now.
just as a thing, as a band, like I don't know if there's any band like that. They're so unique, and
Yeah.
yeah, there's a lot
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, there is. It's ripe for, I mean, obviously there's, countless and countless shows we could do on that. And I'm sure people have, so it's just our play.
But that's my hobby horse. That Mike Love is an important element in the universe
Yeah.
of the Beach Boys. And even just his voice and
Yes.
his personality is part of what makes that stuff work.
I respect that too. I really respect that view. And I can get behind that. I can back you on that. I'm gonna back you.
Yeah. Let's just put that out into the world.
Yeah. We might get some flack for it, and I'm okay for that. I'm okay to get come
at me.
Yeah, if it's some trolls come out for me on this, if we get trolled because of this statement, then I think it's all worth it. Well worth it.
Me too.
Well worth some trolling. So kind of moving on. I mean, you had a time span in Dr. Dog too, and what do you want to? What else would you like to share about that? I don't know. I didn't have a question really lined up there. It was just more, kind of from Swamp era till.
So I don't. Again, it's hard to think of exactly what the timeline was, but we were all sort of doing these simultaneous bands. Like there was Raccoon and Doublehorse, and then there was Dr. Dog kind of in between that, with Scott and Toby and I, and then all these other side things. But through it all, it was definitely like Doublehorse was definitely like my main thing. Like that was the thing that I was sort of committed to, and like more of like my thing. Like I said, it went back all those years to when we were little kids, so that was always like the main thing. But Dr. Dog was super, super great, and it felt even like pretty early on that it could be a real thing, like what it turned into, which is funny. It was like, it was a strange feeling to have about this really, really weird and unusual band. But like right from the beginning, it just had a great feeling. There was like a mood that, musically and just like in terms of the fun that we had. It seemed like people got into it right away. Like there were like, I feel like every Dr. Dog show, there weren't like those paying dues kind of shows where it really sucks. I mean, maybe there were some, but I feel like they were just like really successful, like not successful, but right off the bat, like people would come and be into it. And like I was saying before, there was sort of a social scene in Westchester at the time. And like, it just seemed like all those people would come out to this, like if Dr. Dog played, like a bunch of people would just come because there was a big group of friends in like concentric circles out from us.
Yeah.
And then like surprisingly quickly, it had the magic thing of actually getting real success, like against all odds. Sharon gave the CD to Jim James from My Morning Jacket, and he listened to it, which is like, why would he even listen to it? Like guys like that probably get demos handed to them all the time, but he listened to it and then just liked it and wrote back like, hey, how can I help you guys make it, you know? And and so we went on tour with my open for My Morning Jacket on tour. And, you know, from there, it was just like, not that it was an overnight success. I mean, they, you know, paid their dues for sure, but, you know, they got a leg up with that. So that was when I had to duck out. It was when that tour offer came, it was kind of like, well, you know, you can see that.
I just imagined you putting on like a Howard the Duck costume and just being like, I just had to totally duck out here. And that was it. Doug just went into full duck mode. You had a quack attack. I'm sorry. I had to do that. Yeah. That's some foul play there. I just it's terrible. Jesus.
Stuck out.
Sorry. So you
it wasn't all it was quacked up to be. It was like clear that they were sort of going places, and I felt like, well, I can't really do both at the same time, you know. So I said, look, I'll do the tour, and then I'll probably have to like kind of back out. And you know, so it was very amicable, you know. There was no bad blood, or I mean, none at all. I think it would have been great if I could stay, but it ended up being the right decision. But it was, that was when I ducked out of the project.
Yeah.
But, and I still feel like it has that, like Dr. Dog music still to me, just embodies that whole magic that I felt existed around that whole thing. Like I really felt like they've kept it going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it just, it's great. Just that they cultivated it and found a way to bring it to the world.
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. It's super, super cool. And, it is. It's that kind of thing we talked about where it's like the group, right, of all the people, and you see it as magical, and we're all seeing that. And then it turns out it is, right? It goes out and a larger group gets to experience that and see that as well.
It used to, I sort of didn't realize it, or I think I like pushed it down, but like for a long time, I think I did have sort of a FOMO about it, you know, like I couldn't listen to a lot of Dr. Dog because I was just going on with my life. And I felt like in my head, it was like the magical days of Westchester and that whole period of my life was just continuing without me. Like I felt like that's all still going on and I'm just not there anymore. And so it wasn't with any kind of resentment or anything, but it was just like, I didn't always want to subject myself to that, you know. So like the guy would go to shows and be into Dr. Dog and everything, but I really had a breakthrough after we did the Swamp project with Pig Iron, where I just the whole thing really something just clicked for me, and I just, you know, maybe it was just perspective and enough time had gone by that I just was like, I remember having a real heart-to-heart with Toby about it. I was like, look, I just want you to know that it's amazing. I'm so proud of what the band is. And I just, you know, if I ever seemed uncool about it, you know, it was just my own mental block or something. I mean, not that I think I was particularly uncool or you know, had any weirdness about it, but maybe I just wasn't maybe as like, I don't know how to put it, but it was like a weird thing for a while. And then I finally came around, and now I just, I think that's all past.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. Yeah. That was it. I remember, you know, that show, and obviously I had like a little role with Swamp. Swamp is on, you know, the Pig Iron show, but it was like, something didn't feel something was really cool then, you know, just something about everything coming together. And I know what you're sharing here. And I think just feeling there was something that happened during that was, I don't even know. I don't know I don't know what words to say. I don't fully realized. Maybe there's this thing that was like kind of fully came in, and
Yeah.
it allowed for that for you. I
Should
don't
we
know if that's,
should we say what it was, just in case, depending on who's listening that doesn't know what that
yes.
was? But it
Yes.
was the well into the Dr. Dog career of touring success. I don't know how many years, but
Yeah.
the Philadelphia-based experimental theater company Pig Iron wanted to work with Dr. Dog, I guess, on a project, and they said, "Well, it has to be the swamp. That's what we'll do," because they had always wanted to revisit the swamp or like make it more of a real thing than the kind of janky cassette tape that it was originally. And it was just hilarious because there was a big budget and 1 million people and like real theater people doing, video editing and choreography and costumes and all this stuff. And they kept talking to me about getting involved. And I was like, great, I would love to, but I'm just either had or I'm about to have my second kid, and there's just like a lot going on. I work a regular job, like I can't totally be involved, but I want to, play some kind of part. So what was magical about it was the whole thing for me was that the whole thing had been very largely put together, painstakingly over the course of months I just can't emphasize how huge the hugeness of this and the budget of it. Like, I don't know how much money was involved, but it must have been a crazy amount of money. Like there was like whole teams of people doing like live video editing and like real costumes and like a dance coach and like all this crazy shit. And then I came in, they were like, all right, Doug, can you come to like the Pig Iron place and like, let's talk about your role. So I went there and they were like, it seemed like 400 people, I'm sure it wasn't. It just seemed like there were like people running around with clipboards and like, it was theater. So like, there's like, people are like half nude. Like there's like people are getting changed and stuff like right in front of me. And I walk in like a rube, like a Huckleberry Finn. I'm like, oh my gosh, look at all this. And there's like a guy with a clipboard and an assistant. He's like, look, you come over here. And then there's like tailors, like with tape measures, like taking my measurements and stuff. And they were like, so here's what we're thinking. You're going to come out at the end and do this like Jesus Christ Superstar, like this huge climax to the whole show. You're going to come and be like the apotheosis of this whole moment. And I was like, all right, great. I understand what you're saying and I'll do it. So I got to completely, it was like a metaphor for the whole thing where I was like ducking in as I ducked out before. I was ducking back into Dr. Dog at the peak of their success. Like they spent all this time like on the road building up, to this like actual rock and roll thing. And then it's like, okay, now I'm ready to come back. Like you guys did the work. Now I'll just sing the encore here and just kind of drink the cream off this whole thing. So it was amazing. It was absolutely amazing.
In a tailor-made ghillie suit.
A ghillie suit? Is that what that's called?
That's what it's called.
I'm not even theatrical enough to know that, but yeah,
it's this beautiful thing that was created for you. And I remember that.
So again, anyone listening, amazing. If you didn't see it, experience it. It was this wild multimedia performance art rock concert. This crazy thing with live video, as I say, and real choreographer, like serious dancing and like and I fell into that theater thing like so quickly. Like there are like, look, we're going to do warm-up exercises and we're all going to like give each other back rubs. And then we're going to like experience the room. Like, I want you to go feel the space over here. And I was like, all right, Yes, I'm feeling like I was so ready to feel like an artistic, like a theater student, you know?
Yeah.
It was great. It was so great. And you were part of it, which like there was definitely a feeling too, like all the old magic was just coming back. And I remember talking to Dan, the director.
Yeah.
And like we were, I was treated like this visiting star. Like throughout, I was given this real red carpet thing. Like apparently they'd been talking to everyone about me the whole time. Like, well, then Doug will come in, you know?
Yeah.
And like, so when I came in, everyone, like there was like people were treating me with a certain amount of reverence, you know, it's just, but I remember talking to Dan and he was like, what do you think? You know, like all this stuff was happening. I was like, Dan, I just feel like I should apologize. Like no one, like, did no one tell you this whole thing was just like a jack off? Like, it was like this stupid thing that we made up in the basement. Like you've been deceived. Like you don't understand this. You can't do this all for me. It felt like I was talking about this podcast. It felt like it was all just for me. Like all these people had come together just to give me a magical moment. You
had imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I did, but then I also had megalomania. I also had like, yes, this is naturally what should be done for me all the time. Like, why aren't there always people following me around with a clipboard and like,
where's my limo?
Know what I need? Yeah.
Where's my limo and lines of Coke to just?
Yeah, it was like that. It was so great.
That's awesome. Yeah,
and that was really, like I said, that was what jogged something for me where I was like, God, I love Dr. Dog. I love everything about it. Mm-hmm. And you know, I told Toby, like, I hope you know that I'm, you know, I hope there's no like weirdness about it. Yeah. And there wasn't on his part, I don't think at all. But I felt like it was something I had to say.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man, that's so good.
And Doublehorse kept going. You know, that was still, you know, I mean, we never broke out like Dr. Dog did, but you know, that continued and
then one of the other projects, I know that during the Philly era, and you still do that, you still are in this, the York Street Hustle.
Yeah, that's been great. The York Street Hustle is totally different. It's like a R&B soul kind of tribute band, I guess you would call it. It was started as like the idea of like guys that were sick of being in sort of indie bands and like original music bands and kind of not making any money and not playing any you know, just having to like scuffle. And I think they were kind of like, let's just play Motown and just, you know, make a bunch of money, you know, like it's sort of like cynical thing. But then pretty quickly it turned into like, it was super good. And we got a really talented, you know, it's like a 9 or 10 piece band over the years with like a full horn section and multiple singers and just really great people doing soul, 60s Motown and soul and all that kind of stuff.
I think it's time for them to hear it. I think you primed this very well.
Yeah.
Let me get a little something going here. Snapple.
Caught underneath the spell. Oh well. If only you love me like you hurt me. You know that I'm deserving of more than just your little side. It's just about beauty. Do me like you do me. You know I love you truly, but I'm getting tired. When we began, you held my hand while we would walk together, and you swore to me that you would not let go. But now you let me fall behind, distance growing all the time. How could it be that I could love you so? Love me like you hurt me. You know that I'm deserving more than just your little side. It's just about beauty.
That's really that sounds really good. That's like,
thanks. I couldn't agree more.
You were saying that you got like kind of That was like a good let me get that limo. I think that limo is pulling up right now. They're cutting the lines for you. They're cutting the lines while you cut into line.
Yeah, I'm cutting into the line.
You're cutting the
I
what was
gotcha.
that was a good wink, wink, sniffle, sniffle, snurfle, snurfle.
You kids, don't do that.
Don't do that, kids.
Stay in school.
Don't ever blow coke. Don't ever do it. Don't sniff that marching powder and start beating a drum on that. I learned it's called marching powder a few years ago. Interesting.
Bolivian marching powder. I've heard that before.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That was this just takes me from another memory though. When once we were in your car, and I think it was me, you, and Marty. Marty was in the back, and we were maybe having a donut fight with a bunch of cars. We would go to Krispy Kreme really late after shows, and get the day and get the day olds.
Flashbacks.
Yeah, and get the day olds, and then we'd eat them, but we'd also throw them at each other at the cars driving back to Westchester or wherever we were going. I don't know, the barn or whatever, whatever place we were heading. And
boy, this is really painting a picture. You and Marty in my car.
I was in the front, he was in the back.
Funky.
Yeah, and I remember I was going pretty
Beach Boys
wild.
on cassette.
I'm
really
sure
loud.
Beach Boys blaring. I was going kind of nutty and the super sugared up late at night. And I think I hit your shifter into neutral or something. It didn't go into reverse, but it went into neutral. And then you lost it on me for just a moment. It was a big, and I deserved it. But I think it was, we calmed down. I kind of like sorted myself out. I was like, oh man, I really just got dug. Yeah, I just crossed the line here. And then we were cruising a little further. Everything was quiet. And then you just turn and you say, listen, I just want to say, I'm sorry. I lost it a little there. It was a little out of line.
I have ugly temper. It's one of the things I hate the most about myself. I'm like the most easy guy, like very, like all through it. And then I'll just like, I feel like Herman Munster. Once in a while, I flash out. It's awful.
But here's the thing. I knocked it was very dangerous what I did. So you had every right to respond accordingly to that move that I made. I
probably said something really dad-like, just like,
yes,
maybe I have to drive this car and you're throwing donuts and I can't safely drive with the donuts.
Even if like you just,
I don't remember that, but I can imagine the vibe. I want to apologize again. I should have been cool about it.
No, you shouldn't. You should have yelled at me like you did. It was great. It's a good memory though. Looking back, it was like it was a fun memory. I think I was like, yeah, it was fun. It was fun time. Oh gosh. Yeah. Wonderful good things that come up going into that zone. What were we saying? We were at the New York Street Hustle, though. So that song that I played, how did that go into the donut story? I don't know. It must have just triggered something.
How did we get there? I don't know.
Yeah, I took it off. But coming back around, that was you're still playing. So there's look forward to that. Make sure people are going to check out. I have links for all these things that we've got going on.
Yeah,
but
yeah, York Street is it's interesting. It's like we do a lot of weddings and that kind of thing, which is like a certain, you have to wear a certain hat to do that sort of thing. But then we also try to do, like a thing at a club or a bar or a theater, ideally, where, we try and play like lesser known, like more obscure, deeper stuff, and really do it with authenticity, which is a loaded term, but I like to not play it with like fake horn patches on the keyboard, and like to have real instruments and really high energy, and basically to as much as possible to play the music the way it is on the record, but so you experience it live, which no one ever does. Like you only ever hear oldies or whatever, soul, that kind of old soul music on the radio or on a record, and it really comes to a different thing live.
Yeah.
And then just lately, right before the world shut down, we were like trying to maybe get into doing some original stuff, or maybe shifting to be something like a Dap Kings thing, where like we might sort of back up, like have different people singing lead, like older artists coming in and singing, and like being like a revolving backup band for different things, and doing original stuff maybe. So it's in the process of evolving, but then everything's sort of been on pause. So as we pick back up, we'll see where it all goes. But
that was the one you wrote, right? That's
well, not me, but it's an original. It's original. Band. Yeah. Our singer Ryan wrote that song you just played, "Cruelty."
That's awesome.
Which is just kind of dipping our toe into that world. So yeah, that's an ongoing project that I'm really excited about.
I'm dipping my snorp into it.
Yeah, I'm ducking in to original soul music. Duck O'Donnell.
Put Duck O'Donnell on his webbed feet.
I'm glad we've hit on a motif for this show.
Yeah, there's a little something. I mean, there's some Howard the Duck coming in, I think, because I might have even posted this thing you posted maybe in the past summer, and I replied with a post, and it's the Howard the Duck playing the concert at the end of the movie. And I
never saw that movie. I remember Howard the Duck, but I'd never watched it.
I mean, the ending then, so you probably should revisit watching the ending.
I'll get right on that. Add to queue.
Yeah, I add that in, and it's imperative. So you have this. I want to jump into this, because with the time we have is I'm going to say 5 words, and I want to talk about this here. 5 words: Sloppy Joe and the Cruise.
All right, now I'll tell you about Sloppy Joe and the Cruise.
Do you hear that, people? We will hear about Sloppy Joe and the Cruise. I'm wondering if we should. Do you want to preface it, or should we play a little something to kind of launch in, so people have a flavor in their
yeah, let's duck in. Let's duck in with a little Sloppy Joe.
Ears can have some flavor. All right, let me cue this up. I'm gonna kind of just get this up a little bit here, and we're gonna listen to some Sloppy Joe and the Cruise.
Like the nectar from vines that turns grapes into wine, that's what it's like to be me. Like a car souped up with the top down in summer, and suspension that corners like butter when you drive down the Malibu hills. Like a girl, smooth, warm, and brown in a shirt that they give away free where she works, in a place with no reason or rhyme. Like a horse with no name, left to graze in the rain on an island that no one can see. Like that pink fuzzy shape on the floor by the drapes, that's what it's like to be me. Like trumpets and
Doug, what about Sloppy Joe and the Cruise?
Sound like a DJ. Sloppy Joe and the Cruise
coming at you live.
So I'll tell you what that is.
I want to know, and so that was an intentional pause, because there's I'm loading the question for you. Okay, I'm loading it, and there's a lot going on here with this. Okay. There's a lot of angles.
A lot to unpack.
There's a lot to unpack. Yeah. So I'm just wondering what I'm giving you the lead here. You're on point.
All right. So I'll tell the real story. There's like the fake story of Sloppy Joe and the real story. So here's the real story.
And this is, just so we know, this is you heard it here first. This is the first time that this is you're saying this into the public.
Right.
Like very big. This is a big thing here.
It's not really that big of a thing, but
no, it's a big, you know what I mean? This has never been told before to audiences.
Now it can be told to audiences. So a long time ago, maybe 2007 or 8, my friend Rory and I were talking about Jimmy Buffett, and the idea of Jimmy Buffett music seemed very funny. We were just riffing about Jimmy Buffett and how that music is all really sad. It's funny because the surface idea of that music is that it's tropical, good times, but like right under the surface is clearly like alcoholism and like difficult relationships and just, there's like that sort of thing of like the guy who stayed at the party too long, or like the older guy who's still like a beach bum after everyone else went home. Yeah, whatever. That was the vibe.
Yeah.
And we were making up this idea of a fake band called Sloppy Joe and the Cruise, and making up, like you do, like funny song titles and album titles and this band members and a bio, and just we came up with this whole thing of Sloppy Joe one day. And then I wrote that song. The one that you just heard was the impetus of it. Like it was like a day or two later, I wrote that song, and then a bunch of others, they just started pouring out of me. Tropical soft rock. And I was just like, well, I could do this. I'll make a Sloppy Joe album, like a sort of like a funny, like a comedy project. But it turned into like, I got pretty serious about it. Like I felt like the songs were good. I was like, I was really excited about the music, and like, even though it was all just like these goofy Jimmy Buffett lyrics, I felt like I was really like, mining, like expressing something about my own self, and it just went on forever. Like it was originally like on cassettes, just like acoustic demos. And then it was right around the time that it got easier to record on your computer, like not GarageBand, but something like it,
Yeah.
I got the software and like a condenser mic and an interface and, just like the stuff that you would need to record at home, and started recording it. And it was like in the Dewey Cox movie where like the Brian Wilson scene, like where he's like, it's like real ambitious. He's like, we need more didgeridoos, bring in more goats to the studio. Like I was just doing this homemade thing, but like completely over producing it. And like, it was over the course of like almost 10 years. I think I just kept working on it. More than 10 years. And it was just like so silly, but I got Danny from Doublehorse to play drums, and I recorded all the other instruments of it. And I just kept adding to it. It was that thing of like everything I got some new like plug-in or new technology, I would just like redo the whole thing, like it just like was never done. And it was always like about to be released, but there was always like some problem. I was just going to self-release it, just like burn CDs or whatever and give them out.
Yeah.
And then it went on so long that it was just like dormant. Like all my friends would just hear me talk about like, oh, I recorded this tropical soft rock album, like you would just like roll your eyes like, yeah, I guess he's still talking about that shit.
I actually kind of
But
remember even from afar here you talking. I'm like, where's that album?
yeah, what's he doing?
What is where is it?
And it was,
Yeah.
well, again, it was the magic of the Swamp is On show.
Yes.
It was at that, I think, that Mike Dixon of People in a Position to Know, P-Optic Records,
Yeah.
who's just like a buddy. I mean, I don't know him super well, but he's like on the periphery of the Dr. Dog scene. He put out solo stuff from Scott and Slick and
Mm-hmm.
Dimitri, and he's just a guy with a record label. And I got talking to him, and I think he knew about it, or like I feel like he brought it up, but maybe that's just my fantasy that I want to think that it got to him, it got to his mind somehow. But he was like, hey, yeah, you do this, you have this tropical soft rock album. I said, yeah. And he was like, let's do it. Let's put it out. And so I was thrilled. So that was the impetus to actually go back and finish it, like do a final mix and everything. And he liked it and was going to press it up on vinyl and release it. And he wanted to make it more, more of a plausible lost album. Like he wanted to do more of a pretending that it was, that I found the tape, that I met this guy, Sloppy Joe, and he gave me this tape a long time ago. And that, that it was a real artifact of the 70s as opposed to just this goofy thing. So he definitely reworked the concept, like the liner notes and the whole thing that comes with it is like definitely influenced by his idea to make it more like as if it was a real tape that was unearthed,
Yeah.
But now I'm blowing that here by saying that no, it's just it's a goofy conceptual art project.
I hope people aren't super disappointed.
Well, me too. I don't know if anyone's invested in it to where they would care, but yeah, you can hear it. Sloppy Joe and the Cruise, or you can if you want to buy the album, it's a beautiful deluxe package with colored vinyl and a sunset colored and a die cut sleeve, and it comes with a custom pack of rolling papers and a full color booklet with extensive, telling the whole story. So if anybody's inclined to dive into that,
it's fantastic too. The album is great. The whole packaging too is a whole experience, an immersive experience. So it is awesome. The story, just the whole mythos.
Yeah, I love it. I'm thank you. I'm really proud of it. The fact that I mean, now I'm really ripping the lid off the whole saga here, but the fact
tear the lid off it.
The fact that Mike wrote the liner notes as me, like it's signed Doug O'Donnell, like as if I wrote this whole thing and tell the whole story, but I didn't. He wrote it. And so it's just these levels of fakery where it's like, it's a made up guy. And then Mike is like sort of pretending to be me, who's pretending to be this other guy. You know what I mean? It's like, you peel it away. And then, but meanwhile, it's really about me,
Yes.
It's really like my own personal statement, just through the lens of tropical soft rock.
It's so smooth and sweet feeling. It really puts you you capture the mood perfectly, and it takes you there. It takes you to that beach, and that boat. And
thank you.
All that kind of like trop core.
Yeah, I love that stuff. I have a real soft spot for a particular kind of 70s shag carpet,
What's another
polyester.
give me another like who else would you classify in that zone? Like there's the album comes to mind, which is maybe a little different, but like Eden, it was Eden Abras, the Eden's
Oh
Island.
yeah, wow, yeah, that's totally yeah. Eden Abez, like musically not as much, but
Yeah, a vibe.
definitely like yeah, like a beatnik,
Hmm.
tropical beatnik album.
Yeah.
Um,
Who else would you?
yeah, I'm trying to think. I like not so much tropical, but like Rupert Holmes is the guy who did the Pina Colada song,
Oh,
which I'm not a fan of the Pina Colada song in particular, but that guy's other stuff,
yeah.
like the early Rupert Holmes, is, it's really great.
I,
I'm like drawing a blank because I go so deep with this stuff. I love it. There's a guy named Jeff Eubanks uh, who has an album called A Street Called Straight that's super like sloppy joed out.
ooh,
There's another one called Music and Dreams by what's that guy's name? Robert. I don't know. I'll have to look it up. I've gotten into a whole world of record collecting
yeah.
of that kind of stuff, and it's an endless well, as you can imagine. There's a lot of really great obscure soft rock out there.
Which I always love about you too, Doug, is that I know that you've done that over the years with so many different genres, right? Like the even just like hearing a lot of things from like the lowrider oldies and just like this you go deep in and find these incredible nuggets, like stuff you were
Thanks.
sharing with me this past year. I remember it was like you just sent me a bunch of stuff and it was like this is just like mining for these things that just I would never find. And
Yeah,
it's
lowrider oldies is like my current kind of obsession.
yeah,
One of them. It's like a real specific type of soul, like harmony singing soul music, mostly
yeah,
from the mid '60s to the mid '70s. But and they call it lowrider because it's embraced by like LA, like Chicano or Latinx. It's in the sort of lowrider
yeah,
culture of East LA and around California and the West Coast. There's this thing of being super into this one very specific musical thing. There's like a few elements that have to be there. Like the chord progression is almost always like 1 to 2 minor, like C to D minor. Like all the songs do that.
mm,
It's basically like the song "Ooh Baby Baby" by Smokey
yeah,
Robinson. Like it's just a million songs that all sound like "Ooh Baby Baby" by Smokey Robinson, but there's just so many, and it's an endlessly interesting thing. It's a lot of harmony, singing, uh, falsetto. Like sweet soul is more the more general name for it.
okay,
But if you say lowrider oldies, like you're talking about a really specific sound that is just addictive.
yeah,
So yeah, I get really into that.
that's awesome, man. Do you think that Sloppy Joe would ever play live?
Um, I don't know. I mean, I guess uh, I might I would consider it. There's no immediate plans. It would be
And also,
yeah,
would somebody be Sloppy Joe? That would be kind of fun, right? Like, I mean, we spilled the beans now, so
yeah.
but it
Now
would
that we
still be
blew it,
fun.
I would yeah.
But it would still be fun to play it up,
Yeah. Let's just well let's let that one lay. We'll see, we'll see if someday there's a live Sloppy Joe.
We'll give that some rest. Um, I got a couple last questions for you here, which I've been trying to do in most of the shows. What was your favorite toy growing up?
I was thinking about this, and I was going to say, hopefully it's not a cop out answer, but I think it would be the Johnson Smith catalog of novelties, pranks, and gags. So it's like a little bit meta. It's I had that. If you like in the back of a comic book, you see that page of stuff with like the whoopee cushions and the joy buzzer and the X-ray specs.
Yeah.
And then if you send away for that catalog, you get this big catalog. And I used to just carry that around when I was a kid and just read it constantly. And I would fill out the order form with like what I wanted, as if I had the money to order everything.
Yeah.
And I feel like that was kind of my favorite. Like, if it's not really like a favorite toy, but just kind of a genre of toys, or like
I remember doing the same thing. I'm pretty sure I also got the catalog. But I remember just looking at the little images of the hand drawn images of the products and the descriptions. And I mean, this was also like they had magic tricks and pranks and gags and stuff. And it was such a cool feeling. It gave me such a cool feeling. It was a vibe. And
it was definitely a vibe.
Definitely. I mean, it was, am I correct in, obviously it was in comics, but it wasn't also maybe like Cracked and Mad and just these, they would probably like throw.
Well, Mad and Cracked they didn't run advertisements, but it was from that same world. It was definitely like a Mad magazine kind of a aesthetic, but it was what's funny thinking back on it is that it's like the same with what people say about an IKEA catalog or something. Like, you're not really buying the item, you're buying it's like really they're selling you like a lifestyle or an image of yourself, of what you could be.
Yeah.
And it's very grown up. Like, it's, as a kid, like, you want to buy all this stuff and do it. But as a kid, you're not in a position to, like, it'll be like, squirting necktie or something. And it's like, well, I don't wear a necktie. Like, where am I going to go? But you just picture this lifestyle where, like, you're an adult and you're just like a really, like a sort of coarse, crude, like this like drunk uncle kind of character who's like constantly, with like lecherous and like with X-ray, staring at women with your X-ray glasses and with like your ties going up and everything's like, what in here, like as if you could be like a Marx Brothers, turn your life into like a Marx Brothers movie.
Yeah.
And then it was also like there was a self-improvement aspect to it, like along with the pranks and novelties would be like jujitsu or like secrets of self-defense, or like, you just pictured this like superhuman that you could become if you had all these items. You're constantly doing magic tricks and gags and like you would just be the life of the party. And it's just funny to think of like a 7-year-old kid or whatever, wanting to cop that. And it's like, so just, it's out of reach. You don't have, even if you bought the joy buzzer and stuff, you're just going to be stupid and just like try and trick your sister with it,
Yeah.
But in your mind, it's like, this is the keys to the kingdom. I can really make an impression if I get all this stuff. So that was the answer I came up with for my favorite toy. I'm going to say it was the Johnson Smith catalog.
It's so good. It's so awesome. And then so the other one is your favorite movie of all time, or one of them.
I forgot to think about this one. I'm not big on movies. I don't watch a lot of movies. The ones I think of are like
I actually forgot about that with you. I remember talking, I think it was to Andrew and Rory, and they were like, yeah, Doug doesn't watch movies. I forgot. It was something about like, I don't know how it came up, but it was like, yeah.
I mean, I'm not anti-movie. It just doesn't.
Well, I know
have a hard time.
It was your movie reviews, because you do these amazing reviews of, I haven't seen them in a while, but you do these incredible movie reviews. And just so people know, I would love a whole compilation of those, first of all, just to name that.
I'll make you one. I mean, I don't know. I have a hard time like shutting my mind off and getting into a movie. You know what I mean? Like, I don't. I'm like always like, who was that character again? Like by the end, I've lost the plot and I feel stupid and like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah. No, I get it.
But some movies definitely, Waking Life was definitely a movie where I was like, wow, that is a mind bender. But then that again, that's like a completely atypical movie. Like that's not a, that's like a weird art movie. And True Stories, the David Byrne movie. And I'm not even like a huge David Byrne or Talking Heads guy. I mean, I like him, but I don't go super deep with that. But like that movie, I thought really had a thing that I liked a lot.
Agreed. It's good. It's a good one.
Yeah, it was so funny and strange, and it seemed like it was just for me or just for us. Like it really, it felt like it was pushing a very specific button that I don't know, for whatever reason I had ready to be pushed.
I want to, push the right. It pushed me in all the right places.
The scene where, the fashion show scene. I remember my head just exploding from that. And the dinner with the like business magnate, and he's like spewing all this like corporate jargon. And like demonstrating with all the food on the table, like
Spalding Gray.
Oh, is that who that was?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's incredible. What an amazing.
That movie had some great stuff in it. Or the conspiracy theory preacher.
I'm
actually sure you
for a while
out on that.
Well, I did vibe out for a while when I would go do auditions. My monologue was that.
That scene was actually, I think, somewhat ripped off from the Church of the Subgenius.
That makes
sense.
There
was a guy in Subgenius who called himself Puzzling Evidence. And all that stuff about like the JFK assassination and, the eye in the pyramid, the kind of psychedelic conspiracy thing.
I love it.
Mixed in with like a tent revival preacher. Like that was all like, David Byrne was definitely aware of the Subgenius. And I think that rubbed them a little bit the wrong way. They were kind of like, oh, he just kind of ripped off our steez and put it in his movie.
Oh, interesting.
But nevertheless, it's great. I love that scene.
Yeah.
And I love that movie.
Yeah. It's so good. Anything you'd like to parting words of wisdom or something you want to share?
I am thinking back over the course of this talk, and I feel like I'm very full of myself. I feel like from the beginning to end, it's like, well, let me tell you about the glory days of Westchester when we were all brilliant. And then I was a main force of Dr. Dog. And then I had a fantastic soul band. And then I recorded a soft rock album that's probably the highest achievement of humankind. So I hope that I can leave everyone with just the idea of, just forget all that and just change your image of me to more like a humble, just sort of a quiet guy that doesn't want to say a lot about himself.
It's funny because you don't know I did this, but it's exactly what's in the intro for the show. What you just heard.
What, like, wait till you hear this wanker talk about how great he is for 2 hours?
No, it's that you're such a humble guy, and you would say something like that. You would not give yourself credit where credit is due. You wouldn't like be giving yourself this honorific kind of stature where I think you should, and that's why I'm highlighting. I'm asking all these questions and I'm wanting to pull this out. So
you teed it all up. And like I said, even before this episode, this podcast has been, like I say, I feel like it's almost as if it's just for me. Like you're singing in a key that I can I can really dig. Sound like some kind of Jack Kerouac or something, but it's some beatnik. But I love what you're doing, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, man.
I want to go back and redo it all. I want to change. I'll spend the next week like thinking of this stuff I should have said differently.
Oh man, it's so hard though. I mean,
or
so
changed.
much. Yeah, but so much of what we want to say and what we're saying, in hindsight, in golden hindsight.
Let me say, let me hijack again and leave different parting thought.
Yeah.
I love you very much.
Oh, thanks, man.
I'm so pleased to be reconnecting a little bit. We would always like text back and forth, but it's been a while since we really talked.
Yeah.
And all my friends through the years, my peers, I'm trying to think of the lyrics to your song.
Oh man. Yeah.
all my friends and peers, I've been so lucky with everybody throughout to have all the bands and all the friends and all the great people.
Yeah.
And thank you for putting up with me, everybody. All the people hearing this. Sometimes I'm a real handful. So
oh man.
to whatever if you if I ever annoyed, I hope enough time has gone by that you're not annoyed by me anymore. Everybody, thank you.
That's really sweet. I doubt they are annoyed, and I think everyone loves you very much, and I appreciate you so much, man. And I can't wait to do it again, down the road. So
I hope so. That'd be great.
Yeah. So good to see you. And we'll be talking, man. Great to be here. Yeah.
Yes.
All right. See you, my friend.
Bye.
Oh, that's great. Just a couple of pallies, couple of jabberjaws, me and Doug. Gosh, really enjoyed that. Enjoyed it so much that we didn't want to stop, and so we did a little extra bonus episode, I guess. We did a bonus feature, and I'll pop that out somewhere. Either, I guess I should probably put it on my Patreon to lure you into that portal of the web. But if not, then I might just put it out. That's just a little bonus. And man, yeah, it was fun. It was fun getting to hang out. This is how we're hanging out now. It's funny when I just am hanging out with friends these days. It's like, why don't we just record this? Everything feels like a podcast now. My whole life is becoming one podcast. When I'm talking to someone, it just becomes obvious that we should be recording it for a show. Yeah. So this was really great to just get into some nice goof time with Doug. And again, I just want to pull it back around to say, yeah, celebrating Doug's awesomeness, and you got to hear some smatterings of music. We also didn't get into Glenn Shambles. That's another thing you should look up for Doug. And you got to get Sloppy Joe. I'm looking here right now at the record. It's awesome. It's so good. I love it. Yeah. I don't know if I didn't tell this story in the show, but I was getting out of a meditation retreat this past summer, and I had a long drive, like 9-hour drive home back to Tucson, and I was really wanting to listen to something, and I kept going through, and nothing was really working, that I just didn't want to hear anything. And I got to Sloppy Joe, and it was right after I had first got the album. It was soon after I got to hear it. But then, I got to that, and it was the only thing I could listen to after being quiet for all those days. it just was so nice. It was so refreshing and felt really good. Felt really good. The vibe of it. Yeah. It goes down smooth. Cheers, Sloppy Joe. Your secret is safe with me. Now that we did blow the lid off it. Make sure to check all the show notes for links to Doug's amazing musical projects over the years. I'm pushing him to get some of the Doublehorse and Overtones music up. I don't think that's up, but we'll have links to his other projects. And I just wish you all the best. Fare thee well. This is Bradford Trojan signing off.